right, so let me recall from, first of all, let me say that last lecture and tutorial were not so clear. So I want to be little slow today and make things more clearer. Please ask your queries. You can stop me and ask your queries right then, but be more concise. All right, so what did we do in the last lecture? For each ring, we have attached a topological space called the spectrum, prime spectrum of that ring, and with the Zariski topology. We have defined a Zariski topology on this, where the closed sets correspond to the ideals or radical ideals, and open sets are the complements of those closed sets. Basic open sets are those DFs. DFs are those prime ideals where F doesn't belong to those prime ideals. For a point X in the spectrum, we have denoted Px prime ideal corresponding to that, and Mx maximal ideal if it was a maximal ideal. So, and then we have checked that the points in the maximal spectrum are precisely the closed points, and prime ideals, the closed set defined by the prime ideals, are the irreducible ones, and they are closed by definition. And with this, we have defined a dimension of the ring, also dimension of the topological space. And this is precisely the supremum of, if you look at the ring, then prime chains of the prime ideals. And this is a priori, it's a natural number or -1 or infinity. -1 comes when the spectrum is, when the ring is 0, when there is no prime ideal, and infinity comes when there are many longer and longer chains of the prime ideals. Equivalently, for a topological space, this is supremum of the chains of irreducible closed subsets in the spectrum. And this equality we have noted from so-called Hilbert-Knudsen, formal Hilbert-Knudsen, which is a Shine, which is also called Shine-Knudsen, which is for any closed set y in V of A, Iy is precisely this intersection of prime ideals which contain ideally. This, as we saw, this is not so difficult to prove. This is in fact quite easy. All right, so this is what we did in the last lecture. Now, what are we going to do? First part, I will explain those K spectrums, because I thought it is clear in the supplement, but from the questions or comments, I get a feeling that things are not very clear. That is one thing. Secondly, this definition of Cool dimension, it's not clear from here how does one compute or how does one find a dimension. And we have listed so many properties of the desired properties of the dimension function. So those also we have to address. So that is how I'll go on. But as a preliminary, I will spend some time on the integral extensions and also some part of the supplement. Not all, but some part. All right, so what was the supplement? 0. For a polynomial ring over a field K, we have denoted K power n is the Cartesian product of K n times. So the points here are precisely the n tuples of points where coordinates are in the field K. K is the base field. SPM is the maximal ideals in the polynomial ring. Spectrum is the prime ideals in the polynomial ring. So first of all, look at this is some supplement. I have not given the numbers, but you can figure it out which number. You have a injective map from K power n to the maximal spectrum of this. Namely, A goes to the maximal ideal generated by x1 minus a1, xn minus an. Please note that this is indeed a maximal ideal, because when you go mod this, you get the field K only. The residue field of this maximal ideal is K only. So it is a special maximal ideal. The maximal ideals may not be all of this form. We can write down examples for real numbers, x squared plus 1. So this K power n is a subset of the spectrum anyway. It's a subset of the maximal spectrum, subset of the prime spectrum, and we added Zariski topology here. So we have induced Zariski topology here. But this induced Zariski topology, what are the closed set? They are induced closed set, that is closed set here, intersection with this, that is this one, where A varies in the radical ideals. But this Zariski topology on K power n, classically, one could describe it directly by this VKA. These are the zeros of all polynomials in the ideal A. This is indeed a zero, because we have substituted this point in the every polynomial and checked whether it is zero or not. Then only that point belongs to this. So and then this directly one can prove that these are the closed sets which satisfy this topology on this. This is a classical Zariski topology. It is, I have called it also K topology. All right, anyway. So whether you take induced topology or directly Zariski defined by this. This was the classically defined Zariski topology on K power n. So therefore, we get a VK map from the radical ideals of this to the closed sets in K power n, namely A going to the, these are the common zeros of all polynomials in the ideal A. But we know Hilbert basis theorem and ideals are finitely generated. Therefore, this is actually finite. It's enough to check on the finitely many polynomials. So also we have defined for each y in K power n, we have defined the ideal of K ideal of y, that is all those polynomials with these polynomials vanish on the all points of this given y. And then the closure of this y equal to Vk of Ik of y. So that was, this was easy. But now, if K is algebraically closed, then only the equality happens here. And this is a non-trivial fact. This needs a proof. This is not as easy as the formal standards. So this needs a proof. And that is what I tried to say it in the supplements many times. All right. Now, what is the use of this? We are more general here. The general things are easier, but it has become more abstract. And also, we cannot draw pictures easily. Because if you want to draw, if you want to get a geometric intuition, you cannot draw pictures in this easily. You will see why. But however, you can draw pictures here more easily. That is what I wanted to show. So I tried to draw some pictures.
Sir?
Sorry?
Sir, I have a question that why, what does it mean by Nullstellensatz? Means the term Nullstellensatz has some meaning.
Are you asking me the translation of the word?
Yeah, means the null means something there.
This null is, this is a German word. It should be broken at null, that is zero. Stellen is a place and Zatz is a theorem. So it's a Hilbert's zero place theorem or Hilbert's theorem of zeros. So that relates zeros of this ideal with this one. So that is why it is called Hilbert's. Hilbert has put this first in 1853 or so. This is Hilbert's Nullstellensatz.
Excuse me, sir.
Huh?
Excuse
Sorry?
me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, is Vk and Ik inverse to, like, is this a one-to-one correspondence?
If K is algebraically closed,
If it is not, then is it not, right?
then it is not
Okay, thank you, sir.
in this setup. All right.
So Can we think like this, that if A is a radical ideal inside a polynomial ring over algebraic closed field, then A is precisely the zero set of this VKA, something
A
like
is
that.
not a zero set. A is an ideal.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
So
given a zero set, that
zero set of the ideal,
yeah,
and the ideal of that zero set is related by this equality.
okay,
That is when K is algebraically closed.
yeah,
And if K is not algebraically closed, this is not true. This is not true if K is not algebraically closed. Because if you take K to be real numbers and ideal A to be generated by x square plus 1, the zero set is empty.
yeah,
And then ideal of empty set is what? Every polynomial, because there is nobody. So
all the ring.
it will break down.
Yeah.
Okay, so K is algebraically closed assumption is very, very important. So classical algebraic geometry works well only when K is algebraically closed, because in that case only Vk and Ik are inverses of each other, and they are inclusion reversing maps. All right. But whereas in our setup, if you increase, see, if you increase this K power n to the spectrum of the polynomial ring, the set is enlarged. But the things have become easier, because then this is a trivial theorem. This is shine means it's a note. So it's as evident as anything else. So therefore this is almost, this doesn't need any proof. This is true in any ring, in fact. So the classical algebraic geometry has limitations. But if you go to modern algebraic geometry, things have become easier, but things have become also more abstract. That is the disadvantage. All right. And the longer plan, now for each ring, you have defined this topological space with Zariski topology, and one would like to recover your ring also from here. That I think we will not deal in this course, and this just structure of a topological space on the spectrum is not enough. So you will need some more machinery, which probably in this course we will not deal. But if you read books like Safarovich, Hartshorne, you will need those stuff, or you may find it there.
Sir, what do you mean by not enough means?
That information is not enough to recover back your ring.
Okay, only space is not enough. Okay.
Only the topology is not enough on the spectrum. Okay. So this you will typically learn, or probably some of you might have learned in a algebraic geometry course. All right. Now, what is the advantage of this spectrum and this? You might have failed. This notation is complicated. Things are complicated, but let me assure you, it is not complicated. So today's thing, I have tried to write down more. Yes.
Is this a necessary condition that K should be algebraically closed?
Sorry, what?
That Hilbert, Nullstellan, and Sartz?
Yes.
So you said if K is algebraically closed, then we have that condition on the radical.
Yes.
So does the converse also hold true?
What do we know by converse? You try to formulate converse neatly first.
So if I have a...
So let me tell you, things don't work for non-algebraically closed field. See, we have also time constraint. So when you try to ask me a question, please be precise and be prepared so that we will save some time. I want to answer all questions, but also on the other hand, we have time limitations. So I'm not discouraging you to ask questions. It is
what I meant to ask, if I have that condition for all ideals, radical ideals, do we have that K is algebraically closed?
Then yes, converse is not true.
Okay.
Or converse is true. I mean, what I mean, if you assume this condition for all ideals, then K has to be algebraically closed.
So right? I think it will be followed as you said for R, right?
Yes. So if K is not algebraically closed, you can always find a polynomial which doesn't have any zero, even for one variable. and then use that. All right. So the advantage of this is now we are able to draw pictures, and I tried to draw pictures. I didn't do the best job. I could have done better, but because I didn't have my school compass here. All right. So these might remember you if you have learned good analytic geometry in your college. So for example, you would have studied conic sections and you would have characterized that. You would have found a characterization of conic sections. They are a parabola, ellipse, hyperbola, and a pair of straight lines. Actually, there should be more cases, but even the pair of straight lines was, I remember in my college at least, we didn't study this as a part of the conic section, because for our teacher have defined conic section is by definition locus of the zeros in R2 of an irreducible polynomial in two variables. And then what did we do? What we did was we changed these variables x and y in such a way that the equation that f got transformed into one of these equations. And this equation, this is a parabola, which is precisely the, in our notation now, there it was written locus of the zeros of this. In fact, the zeros was also not used. It was very sloppy notation. But our notation is much more precise now. VR of y square minus x, they are real points here. This is ellipse, and I didn't write down a square here because now we have more maturity, therefore we can translate, we can do things like that, operations on the field. So this is ellipse, circle is a part here, and this, and conic section also were not defined analytically like this. Analytical means coordinate wise. They were defined by definitions where, you know, it was the directories and focus and so on. But the coordinates have become much easier to study them. So there are the four cases here. This is the pair of straight lines. Actually, if you drop this assumption irreducible, then you have not only have to add this pair of straight line, you have to add a double line, you have to add, those are degenerate cases. The point, because x square plus y square will give only 1 point, and also empty set. So these are the simplest examples of the pictures we are drawing here. These pictures, they are real points only. So these are the R spectrum. So this is this, or there are the R algebras corresponding to that is this. So if you take the R spectrum of this, that is precisely this picture. Similarly here, similarly here, similarly here. So if you now want to go to classical algebraic geometry, you need assumption algebraically close. So you have to go to complex numbers. And then you cannot draw pictures, because if you try to draw pictures, it is in a 4-dimensional space. So drawing pictures, getting intuition is not possible. And see, as an algebra, we have considered these algebras. But then why not this? X square plus y square plus 1. This is also irreducible polynomial. But why we didn't do it here earlier days? Because there is no common zero. So it's empty. So there is no geometry. But algebra is there. In fact, this is a very good example. I will come back to it. This is a very good example algebraically. And also, if you try to now go to complex numbers and plot the graphs or see what it is, you will land up seeing Mobius band. Don't ask me why now. We need a little bit more maturity to see this. All right, this was for real numbers. But why not for k equal to q? Or of course, C I said it's 4-dimensional, so k equal to q or K equal to Z mod P finite field, or even Z. Now you see pictures, you cannot draw pictures of Q cross Q so easily. So therefore, the geometry algebra, that intuition, we will not get what we should be getting. All right. But by the way, if I may ask, what can one mean by a picture? Hello? Hello?
Choosing coordinates.
No, but first of all, I want to know what do you mean by a picture
Yeah,
in general?
zero sets. Zero.
So for a function, a graph means that x comma fx.
There is no function I've given. I said just a picture.
Yeah.
Think about it. You will get an answer if you think. Okay. Another very important example, if you look at these are called Fermat curves. If you look at VR of, that means real zeros of x power 2n plus y power 2n minus 1, this polynomial. Or correspondingly the R spectrum of this ring, R algebra. You see, these are real coordinates, therefore these are notation R. Right? So if you take n equal to 1, this is a circle in R2. Otherwise, it's a closed set in a Zariski topology in R2. Right? But note, it is also closed in a usual topology in R2. All the Zariski closed subsets are also closed in a usual topology. They are zero set of the common zero set of the polynomials. And zero set equal to 0 is always a closed condition. So it's closed also in a usual topology. So these are called Fermat's curves. So if you try to plot them in real plane, then it is like this. It gets elongated. The circle gets elongated and elongated. So as far as the real topology is, usual topology is concerned, you can say that they are homeomorphic. If you take different ends, all these are homeomorphic with respect to usual topology. I am not saying with respect to Zariski topology, with respect to the usual topology. What about VQ of this? Of course, we cannot draw a picture now. VQ of this is in 3 space. And the Fermat's last theorem was concerned with how many points are here. And the theorem was it has finitely many points. So some more examples. I did not draw the graphs here, pictures here, because I want you to draw it. Elliptic curves, they are so-called elliptic curves, they are y square, they are plane curves, y square minus this is cubic and with no repeated root. And this is y square minus cubic again, but this cubic has only one real root and the remaining quadratic is irreducible over R. So is this. So if you see the classical books, very classical books, you will see the picture here, and their name will be, this will be called parabola pura, and this is called parabola companioniformis comovoli. So you see it will have two connected real components. Here it is connected. So this is a very classical study of points with coordinates in real numbers, or real numbers especially, because one can draw pictures. All right. With this, I will come back to some pictures at the end of the lecture today. Integral extensions. Actually, according to our plan, we have assumed that.
Sir,
Yes.
so
Yes,
given an
sorry.
so given an ideal, how do we know that there are, for example, polynomials over R which generate it, so that it can define an R variety?
I am not understanding your question.
Suppose we are given an ideal.
Yes.
over C
Where?
over complex numbers.
Or complex numbers, yes. Then
So how do we know that there are polynomials which are defined over R and which generate I?
see, your question is very vague because
Okay,
you
sir.
have
Thank
taken
you.
an ideal in a complex coefficients, right? Isn't it true? Are you hearing me?
Yes, sir. I'm hearing. Yeah, yeah.
You started with an ideal with complex polynomials, right?
Yes, sir. Like I just want to understand whether a given ideal defined over C. Uh, so what is the picture over R? So in order to do that, I need to have some polynomials over defined over R.
See, again, let me tell you, your question is very vague because you have not thought what you want to ask. For example, if you take a polynomial,
Okay, sir. I'll think about it and ask. Thank you.
yes. All right, integral extensions. Please, again, I want to repeat once more. Your questions are all welcome, but I want you to think before asking any question. Think it precisely, make it more precise, and I can assure you 90% time you will answer your own question. And if you don't, then you ask, very good. I will encourage that. But please ask your questions when you make it more precise. Okay, let's come. Now I want to start with integral extension. As I said, we have planned to assume this, that you are aware of the knowledge of integral extensions. So some of the things in this I may not prove completely. And this is chapter 5 in Atiyah McDonald. You can see some missing proofs there, or you can also ask some of the things. So right, so we have a ring extension. That means A is a subring of A prime. And let me remind you, subring means the unit element is the same. Multiplicative identity is the same. And as we saw, now it is very useful to consider zeros of monic polynomials. Now earlier we had field, therefore we could consider zero of any monic polynomials, and that I will denote by this suggestive notation V, A prime, suffix here, and F here. F is a polynomial, monic, and the zeros I am considering is in A prime. It may very well happen that it may not have any zero. So in that case, this will be empty set. More generally, suppose A prime is an A algebra with a structure homomorphism phi from A to A prime. Remember, algebras over a ring are precisely the pairs where pairs are A prime comma phi, where A prime is also a ring and phi is a ring homomorphism. So this will give an algebra structure, A algebra structure on the ring A prime, and this phi is a structure homomorphism of this A algebra A prime. On the same A prime, there may be many structures of the A algebra, but when you say be an A algebra, then this phi is fixed, and that is called a structure homomorphism. All right. And A prime is also commutatively assumed, but sometimes you will have to, sometimes I might have said it for non-commutative ring also. Then I will make comment there. So now again, for any element x in A prime, small x in A prime, let epsilon x, there's a unique K-algebra homomorphism defined by capital X go to X. This is called a substitution homomorphism. So we are substituting in the polynomial with coefficients in A, the small x. So your result is, this is not in A, I have misprint here, this is A prime here. This is A prime here. Okay, this is A prime. So this is the universal property of the polynomial algebra. Remember, my polynomial variables will always write by capital letters. and small are the elements in the rings or modules or wherever. So what is the kernel of this? Kernel of this algebra homomorphism? This is not K, this is A. This is kernel is precisely all those polynomials which go to 0. That means all those polynomials where x is a 0. So it's a common 0 set. This is 0 of x belong to the 0 of this, if and only if that polynomial belongs to the kernel of the substitution homomorphism. So when do you say is x is integral over A? If this kernel contains a monic polynomial. Equivalently, there is a monic polynomial with coefficients in A such that f of x is 0. And this is called an integral equation for x over A. Over because coefficients are in A. And there is no canonical way to find an integral equation. We will see. Kernel contains a monic, then it is integral. If kernel is non-zero, then there is some non-zero polynomial where this x is a 0. In that case, we call it x is algebraic over A. If A equal to K, if it is a field, then these two concepts, integral and algebraic, they are same. When do you say some element is transcendental? When the kernel is 0. That means this element x doesn't satisfy any polynomial. There is no kernel other than 0. So this also you can find in earlier supplement under the polynomial algebras. All these what I said should be there. All right. So again, let A prime be K algebra. This K is again A because I was all right. So X in A prime. This is a substitution homomorphism. Then we know this AX mod the kernel is isomorphic to the image. And what is image? Image is precisely all polynomials evaluated at this particular given X. So this is an A subalgebra of A prime generated by this X. That is the image. If A is a field, then we know X in A prime is algebraic over K, if and only if this dimension is finite. Because we have gone, this is a field, and we have gone mod a non-zero ideal. So which is therefore finite dimensional vector space. In fact, dimension will be equal to the degree of that generating set, generating element. What is in this case, the minimal polynomials, you look at this ideal, this kernel, this is a non-zero ideal, prime ideal, not necessarily prime, sorry, non-zero ideal, but it is in a kx, therefore it's a principal ideal. And if you choose a monic generator, that is called a minimal polynomial of x over k. Now let me remind you, this mu x may not be irreducible because this A prime may not be an integral domain. For example, if you take A prime equal to k power n, this is also K algebra. The multiplication here is the component-wise multiplication that makes it an algebra. So if you take this tuple in K power n, try to find what is the minimal polynomial here. It's an interesting answer, but this may be too trivial for you. Fine. Basic criterion for integral dependence or integralness. X is integral over A if and only if this is a finite A module. Finite means finitely generated. That means I've written it here. A module M is called finitely generated if it is generated by a finitely many element. And in that case, we will write this notation. These are all A linear combinations of these x1 to x. Very suggestive notation, which is also equivalent to saying that there exists a finite A module M of A prime with 1 belong to M, and xm, x times n is contained in M. Or equivalently, there exists Ax module M such that M is a finite A module and annihilator of this M or as a module over Ax is 0. I hope all these terms you are used to it. If not, I would say today, immediately after the lecture, you should go back and recall your definition from chapter 1, chapter 2 of ATM. Fine. Now recall that I have an A algebra, A prime. When do you say it is a finitely generated algebra? Or also I will also use the term finite type over it. That means as an algebra, this is generated by finitely many elements as an algebra. So this notation you see, A prime is A square bracket x1 to xn. This is a subalgebra of A prime generated by this. And that is precisely the image of this substitution homomorphism from the polynomial in n variables to A prime, capital X going to X. So every finite type algebra over A is a quotient residue class ring of a polynomial ring infinitely many indeterminates over the ring. So A prime is fine. That's what I have written here. Oh, polynomial algebras are finite type over A, but power series, formal power series rings, they are A algebras. They are not finite type over A. For n is at least one. We say that A algebra is a finite over A. Let me stress here, finite doesn't mean cardinality finite. Finite means as a module it is finitely generated. That means A prime is generated as a module by x1 to xn for some, this is again in A prime. A linear combination of x1 to xn. Obviously finite implies finite type, but not conversely. For example, polynomial ring is a they are polynomial algebras, they are finite type over A, but they are not finite over A. Example, the Z algebra Q is not finite over Z,
Sir,
not even finite type over Q. Yes? Over
sir,
Z.
I am Rahul Karki. So in the above, in the first, you have written finitely generated A algebra as finite type over A,
Or,
and here, or yeah, finite type over A
Mhm.
as an algebra, and here as a module.
Yes,
Both are the same thing. It is also finite type over A.
that's what
Finite.
I'm trying to
Okay,
say.
okay, okay.
You are not
Finite. Yes,
listening.
okay.
I'm trying to say
Yeah, I
finite
got it.
implies finite type. You see, finite implies finite type, but not
Okay.
conversely. Because what does finite means? That means every element of A prime is a linear combination of these x1 to xn. And here you need quadratics, cubics, and so on. Because it's an algebra. So there is a multiplication, no? Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, finite type and finite. Both are different.
Both are?
Both are different. Finite
Yes.
type is for algebra and it is for module.
No,
Finite.
but you can also, algebra is also a module, no? So you
Yes,
can,
sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, but there is multiplication operator. Multiple.
finite implies finite type, but not conversely.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, I got it.
So for example, Q as a Z algebra, Q is a Z algebra in a natural way. This is not finite over Z. Leave finite alone. It is not even finite type over Q. And you try to prove this.
Sir, does it follow from the infinitude of primes?
That is, I left the question to you. So please see it. At some stage, you should be confident enough to say yes or no. All right. Now, as we saw integral, how to find if some element somehow you know it is integral. How do we find its integral equation? It is not a natural process, but there is some process. So that some, when I say not always, but sometimes. And now let us recall what is the theorem of Cayley-Hamilton. So let A prime be a finite free A algebra of rank D. Now all these words you know. Finite means finite as a module over A. Free means free module over A. Rank of that free module is D. that means that there is a basis of A prime over A consisting of D elements. And in fact, every basis will have D elements. That is the meaning of the ranks. All right. So that is our assumption now. And it's a finite algebra, therefore it is integral. So I am trying to now show you how do you find an integral equation for this element x in A prime. So let x be in A prime and lambda x, this A prime to A prime, this is a multiplication map by x. This is a left multiplication by x. This is obviously a linear map, a linear map. Therefore, for each basis element, when I multiply by this x, because it's an algebra, it is again an element in A prime. Therefore, it is a linear combination of this basis. That's what I've written. So these aij's are in the base ring. So rearrange this equation. This equation is true for every j. This equation we have written, such an equation is for every j equal to 1 to d. So when you rearrange, you get this. This is 0. The delta ij is the canonical delta. But then Kramos will tell you, if you take the determinant of this x, these are the diagonal x. So this is identity matrix minus these aij's. This is a matrix times xi is 0, where ed is the d by d identity matrix and a is this matrix, which are defined by these linear equations, linear combinations. This is a matrix over A. This shows that characteristic polynomial of x evaluated at x, which is the determinant of this, which is 0. This is a canonical integral equation of degree d of x over A, where characteristic polynomial, how is it defined? This is determinant of x is a variable, identity matrix minus A, and this is obviously a monic polynomial over A, coefficients are in A, degree is d. This is a characteristic polynomial of the A linear endomorphism lambda x. This is A linear endomorphism, A prime A. This is A model morphism. This is a monic polynomial of degree d of rank this. So that is how we did it in linear algebra, but here it's almost same, but I had to use assumption free model. Therefore, we have a basis and so on. And this is a good opportunity for you to recall the things here, whichever you have forgotten. Please do so. So, the second example. Suppose you take a B is a non-zero divisor in the ring A, and B is also non-unit. This cross here I will denote the unit group. All units in the ring A are denoted by A cross. For example, 2 is a non-zero divisor in Z and 2 is not a unit. Then look at the element 1 by B in the quotient field of A. Not quotient field. I have arbitrary ring, therefore total quotient ring of A. Total quotient ring means you take S naught to be non-zero divisors and you invert all of them. So that means you consider localization of A at S naught multiplicatively close. This is the biggest possible because you have inverted all non-zero divisors there.
So in the above example, are you using anywhere that x1 to xb are linearly independent?
What?
Are you using that x1 to xb as a basis, or are you just using it as a?
I'm using it as a basis because how do I write this? How do I write this equation?
If it is a generating set, you can still write the equation.
But how? So here you see you have concluded this determinant times xi is 0. Then from here I want to conclude. What do you want to conclude? The determinant is 0. Why is that?
So
Because
isn't only the generating part is necessary there?
sorry.
I mean, is linearly independence necessary in that statement that you are
Which
trying to
statement?
prove?
Which statement?
That from this line, determinant of this thing times xi is 0. From there, determinant is 0.
Yes.
if we
Of
just
course.
assume Xi's are a generating set, then we can conclude that, right?
But Xi may have annihilator, no?
Yeah. But
Then
anything which annihilates all the Xi's, that will annihilate all the elements in the module, right?
why? Oh, yeah. So.
Yeah.
But
So that will.
why is it 0?
Yeah, because I mean, in the endomorphism ring, I will that endomorphism will give us the zero endomorphism.
This only shows that the determinant annihilate every x1, x2, xn, right? xd.
Yeah.
So it may annihilate the whole module.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So why is it the determinant 0 then? From here, because xi is a part of the basis.
Yeah.
Therefore, this is 0. This is an element in the ring.
Yeah.
All right.
I was looking at this thing. I mean, if I say that this determinant lambda x times ed minus a, that is a, I mean, that is a endomorphism on that module a prime, right?
Which
Over
is an
A.
endomorphism.
This date of I am replacing this capital X by lambda x. This date of lambda x times ed minus script a.
Mhm.
That
This
is
is an
an
element. This is not an endomorphism.
no. I am looking at that as an endomorphism.
I am not understanding what to say. This is very simple. You are, I think the trouble is, you see, what does this mean that where is this element first of all? This element is where?
Inside a power n.
Where is this element? Determinant of
F prime
x.
power n.
Where is it?
F prime, inside F prime.
This is in A prime.
Yeah.
And A prime times this is 0. Xi, they are 0. And from here I want to conclude this element is 0. Now this element is in the A prime ring. These guys are also in A prime ring. So why is it 0?
Sir, since Xi is generate the whole thing, in particular that element times 1 equal to 0. 1 is in M prime, right?
Yes, but then what will you get here? You will not get this is 0.
Yeah, after getting this thing, date of this thing times Xi is 0 for all I. Since Xi is generate the whole A prime, so in particular, I can write 1 as a finite sum of these Xi's and applying this date there.
And what will happen to these guys?
Yeah, they are commuting, right?
You need a freeness. You need the fact that these guys are linearly independent. Please think about it.
Okay, sir.
Shall I
System
continue?
of linear equations.
Sorry.
Is it not related with system of linear equation? How solution, unique solution exists, and all those things?
It's over a field you are talking about. We are not over a field. Please
Yeah,
remember.
means same type of thing. If we consider here,
I leave it for you to figure it out. It is not as simple as you think because if you are over arbitrary ring, then things are linearly independent doesn't equivalently mean that, for example, when is the matrix invertible over a ring? Do you know?
there is no kind of result for ring. I'm saying if we in field, then same kind of thing we did in linear equations.
That's what I also made a comment earlier.
Yeah. That I understand. Yeah.
But if you want to do it over arbitrary ring, then you need to assume that your module is free. Finite rank. Then only things will work. Then only things will run. All right. So shall I continue? Shall I continue?
Sir,
Yes.
one thing.
So we are in this example, right? B is a non-derivative either. B is a non-unit. Then 1 over B. This is an element in the total quotient ring. Because we are total quotient ring means we have inverted all non-derivative others. So 1 by B makes sense there because B is non-derivative other by assumption. And I want to claim that this 1 by B, this is an element in the total quotient ring. This total quotient ring is a ring extension of the given ring. This is an element in a bigger ring, and this element is not integral over A. This I want to show. This element is not integral over A. See, the idea is to give elements which are non-integral. So what is the answer? How to prove that? Look at the kernel of the substitution homomorphism. X going to 1 over B. This kernel is generated by a linear polynomial Bx minus 1. This is Bx minus 1 is the polynomial here. And that obviously is in the kernel of this epsilon 1 over B, because when you plug X equal to 1 over B, this goes to 0. And therefore, kernel is this. Therefore, I say that kernel cannot contain any monic polynomial, because kernel, any element in the kernel is a multiple of this polynomial. And therefore, the leading term will always be divisible by, leading coefficient will always be divisible by B. So it cannot be monic. So you only have to check that the kernel of this ring homomorphism is generated by this linear polynomial, which I leave it for you. All right, third example. Now, third example, we are going very slow. Third example is a motivation or a reason why we use the words spectrum and how it is related to the spectrum which was defined in function analysis. So this will lead to that. So suppose we have a field K. Of course, function analysis is not done over K, arbitrary field. It is usually done over real numbers and complex numbers. But as far as I can go on, I will go for a general field. Then I will specialize K equal to R over C. V is the finite dimensional K vector space. Dimension is n, at least 1. And we have a linear operator on V. That is the standard notation is F belongs to endomorphisms. These endomorphisms, set of endomorphisms, this is an algebra over K. And what is the structure of homomorphism? Lambda. Mind you, this is not necessarily commutative algebra. This is n is more than 1, then it is non-commutative in fact. This lambda is the math. A going to left multiplication by lambda. Is x going to ax. So note that the image of lambda is contained in the center of this. This commutes with every other endomorphism. So when you have algebra which is not commutative, you need to assume that the structure of homomorphisms image goes inside the center of that. We don't have to consider this often, but this is just necessary. So the substitution homomorphism now is x going to f from kx to the endomorphisms. Now see here, this is an algebra which is a vector, which is also a vector space over K, therefore, and the dimension as a vector space of this algebra is not finite. Whereas this algebra, because V is finite dimensional, this algebra has a dimension equal to square of the dimension, n square. So this map cannot be injective. So therefore it has a kernel, non-zero kernel. And that means that this F is algebraic because it has to satisfy a non-zero polynomial. We are over a field. So I will use the word algebraic. So therefore this operator is algebraic. And the image of F is what? Image of this epsilon homomorphism is precisely the subalgebra of this endomorphism algebra generated by F, which is commutative. The image is commutative. Moreover, the Cayley-Hamilton theorem just above now, it's easier now because vector space has a basis, so on. The characteristic polynomial chi f is the determinant. This is a monic polynomial with coefficients in K, and this determinant is computed by taking an arbitrary basis and writing the images of these Vj's as a linear combination of this, and that is the matrix A. And then one check that this doesn't depend on the basis chosen and so on. So chi-f need not generate the principal ideal this. Chi-f is an element here, that is what the Cayley-Hamilton theorem says. But I want to say that this may not generate. Why is that? We will see in examples. The unique monic generator of this ideal, which is a non-zero ideal in a PID, therefore it is generated by a unique polynomial. If you choose that to be monic, that polynomial is called a minimal polynomial of f over k. And remember this mu f need not be irreducible over k, like in a field extension case. For example, if you take a nilpotent operator, non-zero nilpotent operator, then mu f is what? Mu f will be x power m, where m is the degree of nilpotency of f, which might be strictly smaller than the dimension. All right, this is what standard algebra people learn so far, but the following important observation, also linear algebra, but many people don't learn this while doing linear algebra. So maybe it is better for you to learn this now. You should look for the proof of this observation, which is not so difficult. Chi-f and mu-f, how are they related? Mu-f is a generator of the kernel and chi-f is one element. Therefore, chi-f is a multiple of mu-f is a trivial statement. But chi-f and mu-f have the same prime divisors. You see, we are in a PID, therefore UFD, therefore prime elements make sense there. They are precisely the monic irreducible polynomials. So chi-f, when you take the prime factorization of chi-f in kx, that looks like this: pi 1 mu 1 pi r mu r, where mu i's are non-zero natural numbers, pi i's are the monic irreducible polynomial distinct, and mu f is this, and mu i's are bigger equal to 1, and mu 1 less equal to this, mu r less equal to this. That means whichever prime divisor occur here, it occurs here also, and here they occur. Same prime divisors occur. See, just mu f divides chi-f doesn't show up this. For example, mu f is one factorial and the two factorial, that is not possible. So this needs a proof. It is not difficult, but it needs a proof. And usual linear algebra course will only prove you if you take k equal to c, then the statement they have the same zeros. But this pi is maybe irreducible of bigger degree if k is not algebraically closed. I can't hear you.
కట్టేవాళ్ళు అంటే అక్కడ ఇరిగిపోయింది ఇక్కడ ఇరిగిపోయింది అంటే నేను ఎక్కడి నుంచి కడతాను? వాడు మోస్ట్ అన్ప్రొఫెషనల్ గా ఉన్నాడు, అంతే సింపుల్ గా చెప్పాలంటే.
I am not able to get anything. Can you please?
వాడిని వెయిట్ చేసి మనం పొద్దున 10 నుంచి వాడి కోసం వెయిట్ చేసింది మనం తగ్గాల్సిందా వాడు తగ్గాల? వాడికి తగ్గాలి. సరే సార్, ఓకే సారీ అని చెప్పాల్సింది పోయి ఏం జరగలేదు కదా, ఏం లేదు కదా, ఇచ్చేసేయండి 12,000కి, ఇచ్చేసేయండి 1000 తగ్గించుకోండి, ఏదైనా కూరగాయలు బేరమా? 4 గంటలే కదా అయింది 10 నుంచి ఇప్పటిదాకా.
హలో,
అదే మనం ముందు ప్రిపేర్ అయ్యి చేద్దాం అనుకున్నాము.
Can you please mute him?
Hello.
వాడు ప్రొఫెషనల్ గా చేయాలి.
10 ఇస్తా
అన్నాడు, 10 ఇచ్చాను. నువ్వు ఏ తప్పు చేయకుండా ఇచ్చావు అనుకో, నేను ఇస్తాను.
Please mute that guy.
Why don't you mute him? Hello. Hello. Shall I continue?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this important observation, you should learn the proof of this for arbitrary field, arbitrary linear operator and a finite dimension vector space. In particular, what are the zeros of mu f? They are same as zeros of chi-f also, because all prime factors are there. Only the multiplicities will be different, but the zero set is same. So they are all points in K such that chi f A is 0. This is usually called the eigenvalues of f in K. It may not have any eigenvalues because if all these pi i's are irreducible of higher degrees, none of them is linear, then it doesn't have a 0, which is, so their 0 set is same. That is called eigenvalues. That is the union of all these pi i's, zeros of pi i's. So moreover, what is the K spectrum of this algebra? That is precisely Vk of mu f. That is what I have asked you to check in the supplement 1, 0. This is K spectrum, this. Now do you see? This is a K spectrum and this is eigenspectrum. So in function analysis, Vk of chi f is usually called spectrum of the operator f. To be more precise, it's a real eigenspectrum if K is R, but it may be empty. So once it is empty, function analysis people will come to the dead end to study linear operators because there is no spectrum there. So they usually consider spectrum over complex numbers, that is VC here, complex zeros. And that is called the complex eigenspectrum. And of course, when function analysis, you don't only study finite dimensional Hilbert spaces, but not finite dimensional. So mainly not finite dimensional. Then there are other spectrums. But this is an eigenspectrum. All right. So if K bar is the algebraic closure of K, then you take the zeros of chi f in K bar. That is K bar spectrum of this algebra, which is also K algebra homomorphism from this to K bar. This is again supplement 0. But this is isomorphic to tensor product. If you take a base change, it is this. And that is then the K bar spectrum of this K bar algebra. This is a subset of K bar. So for example, if you take K equal to R, K bar equal to C, then you write down this, and then you get, so I will not go through this. This is a self-explanatory. So that is the reason why is it called a spectrum. Of course, one can do more complicated examples, non-finite and so on, but I don't want to get into that. All right, so get back to integral extensions. So A prime is a algebra. This is a structure homomorphism. We call it integral if every element is integral over it. Ring extension. See, when you say A algebra, this structure homomorphism may not be injective. If it is injective, then you call it a ring extension. Then it's an A prime algebra. Iota is this in natural inclusion. Then we say that this is integral if here either you say A prime is integral or the homomorphism is integral. So in that language, iota is integral. For example, if you have a surjective ring homomorphism, then phi is always integral. That is easy to say, easy to see. If ring extension is integral, A prime is ideal, and then you go mod A prime and contract that A prime to A, then you get inclusion map, then this is always integral. If you take a multiplicatively closed set and localize, this is also integral. Polynomial extensions are integral. So these are easy statements to check. I will not spend time for this, already we are late. So please check this. So get back again. Now I am going to study integral extensions and their spectrums and relate prime ideals and hopefully get information about the dimension. That is the idea. To compare their dimensions. Okay, so what is the question now? So we have this structure homomorphism of this A algebra A prime will give you a map on the spectrums, other direction. And we have seen it is continuous map with respect to Zariski topology. And the map is any P prime in P prime primarily in A prime that goes to the contraction. We have seen contraction of a prime is prime. So also it is written this intersection notation. This is not really the intersection, but the contraction. But in case A is a subring of A prime, then this makes sense. So same notation is used, but don't, it's really abuse of notation, but don't misuse it. All right. So what is the question? Question is this map surjective? Or equivalently, now I want to always translate my statement into geometric ones. What is the equivalent formulation? Given irreducible closed subset here, is it coming from irreducible closed subset here? That's what I've written. Whether irreducible closed set here, V is given, its irreducible is given here, whether is it coming from here? Yes. All right. So this question and similar to this question are answered in this following theorem. Following theorems actually. There are 4 of them. And these are known as Cohen-Seidenberg theorems. Cohen and Seidenberg, they were students of Zariski. All right. So what are the theorems? Now I assume A prime is integral extension of rings, and I am denoting the map by phi, not by iota. Phi is injective. The first one is called a maximality. So what does it say? If you have a prime ideal P prime which lies over P, that means this is a contracted ideal, then if P prime is maximal, if and only P is maximal. So only maximal ideal can lie over the maximal ideal. Incomparability. Suppose that I have 2 prime ideals with one contained in the other. These are in the above ring. Both they lie over P. Both lie over the same P. Then they are equal. That means the prime ideals which lie over a fixed prime ideal P below, they don't have comparability relation. Therefore, they are incomparable. That is why this title. Third one is lying over. Given P, there exists a prime ideal P prime which lie over P. This means
Sir,
Phi star map is surjective.
sir, could you please
Yes, yes, please. Hello.
sir, could you please explain that why is point 2 called as incomparability?
Point 2. Okay, what does the statement say? If I have 2 prime ideals in the above ring with one contained in the other, one contained in the other means they are comparable, right? Comparability is with respect to the relation inclusion. And suppose both of them lie over the same P, then they are equal. That means 2 different prime ideals, if they lie over the same P, then they are not comparable. That is why the title incomparability.
Okay.
All right. Third one is
thank you,
lying
sir.
over. That means given any prime ideal P, there is a P prime above ring which lies over P. This simply means the spectrum map is surjective. Given P here, it is coming from somebody here. So it is surjective. All right. The
Sir?
fourth one. Yes, please.
Sir, that incomparability, what it's geometrically say, can you say?
That's what I said. Geometrically, the geometrically mean they are not comparable in the spectrum. Okay. 4, going up theorem. This is called going up theorem. That means if you are given 2 prime ideals in the below ring, one contained in the other, and one of them P prime in the above ring which lies over the smaller one. Then there exists Q prime which lies over this and also which contains P prime. See, if you don't want this containment, then the 3 will tell you there is a prime ideal Q prime which lies over Q, but it may not contain P prime. But this going up theorem says, yes, we can indeed choose Q prime which contains this P prime and lies over this Q. This means if I have a chain down here, then I will first use surjectivity to get a prime ideal which lies over here, and then keep climbing the chain and construct a chain in the spectrum A prime, which will have the same. And then if it is not equal here, it is not equal here because of the incomparability. So altogether, what will you get? Let us see. That means, note, first of all, note that the properties 1, 2, and 4. No, yeah, 1, 2, and 4 will not require that this phi map is injective. Only 3 will require. Only 3 will require surjectivity. And I am, by the way, I am not going to prove this theorem. You should learn this theorem from Atiyah MacDonald, or I would prefer Atiyah MacDonald.
But sir,
Don't use any other book. Yes.
but sir, when you say that Q prime exists over Q,
sorry,
you said Q prime for Q prime exists over Q in the fourth going up theorem.
Yes.
We need a surjectivity to ensure that.
Yeah, of course. If you assume all of them, then I am saying.
That means for 4 also we need a injectivity of phi, right?
No. Fourth is an independent statement. I said this exists by this. I was just trying to give you an argument why also we need little bit more. This
Yes,
namely.
Yes,
So
sir.
this one doesn't need that lying out. So 1, 2, and 4 hold for arbitrary ring homomorphisms A to A prime. Phi may not be surjective. When you write down the proof of this, you should make sure that in 4 you should not use 3. Or if you use 3, your map should be injected. In particular, dimension of A prime cannot be more. Because whenever I have a chain here, I have a chain there. So dimension cannot be more of the bigger ring. This is using 2 and 4. This is easy. Moreover, if he is injective, then 3 holds, and hence then the dimension will be equal in that case. So if you have a ring extension, integral ring extension, then the dimensions are equal. That is the corollary of this. Moreover, if this is surjective but not injective, then 3 fails. 3 is not, the spectrum map is not surjective then. Because you take an example, surjective map, then phi star of this, phi star of the maximal spectrum of A prime is a subset of this, and the equality holds. This is fails because this is obvious, because some prime ideals might have disappeared in A prime. Also by one, the maximality, phi star of the maximal spectrum is contained in the maximal spectrum of A. And the equality holds if phi is injective. Phi is injective, then I can use 3, and then given maximal ideal, you first choose a prime ideal which lies over that by 3. And one will say it is maximal. So please go through the proof of this. It's very, very important techniques. That is where you will get more and more acquainted with prime ideals, localization, and prime ideals of localization and so on. So before you come for the next lecture, you should have gone through the proof of this. All right. Now let us see some examples. And all these examples are geometric in nature. So I have mixed up the supplement 0. So we are polynomial ring in two variables, Cx, y. And now my ring is A, is Cx, one variable. And I have taken a non-zero monic constant polynomial. And A prime is this quotient ring, residue class ring. Small x, small y are the images of capital X, capital Y in this residue class ring. Then the supplement, this functoriality will tell you what is the spectrum of A prime. Is the zero set of F in C, which are the px. AB in C square says that this is 0. C spectrum of A is C spectrum of Cx, which is C only, because all maximal ideals here in fact are linear polynomials, monic linear, so it is this. The ring extension, this corresponds to the map on the spectrum, the reverse direction is a projection map. All right. Monic is not necessary here actually. So monic, drop the word monic. It's not necessary. All right. Let us take two examples, which will show subtle difference between subtle but very important difference. Now again, I draw a picture here. The picture is very suggestive. So you should understand the picture. It's a picture over C, but now this is my axis is C. So all right. So I have taken the monic polynomial, pair of straight lines. If you take the zero set, it's pair of straight lines. And A prime is generated over A by the small y as an algebra. And this is a monic polynomial. So in fact, A prime is a free module over A of rank 2. Basis is 1 comma small y. So it's a finite A module in particular. Therefore, it is integral over A. Now, if you substitute arbitrary complex number for x in F, what do we get? We get a monic quadratic. You see here, I have substituted in this x equal to A. So you get this polynomial, quadratic equation. All right, what does this geometrically mean in this picture? This means that you see this pi map is the spectrum map, is a projection map. That is this projection. This is a C cross C. Is projected onto C. And where do this point? What is this point? This point is. This point here is 2 double prime, that is ideal generated by x minus small a, y minus small a in the ring A prime. And this one is q prime. This is x minus a, x plus a, y plus a in the fourth quadrant. So both of them will get projected onto the same point. So the fiber is non-empty, for example. So that means over this point, these are the 2 prime ideals which are lying on this. Here, the same point lie over this 0. So in this case, the extension is integral. Also, you see, there is a prime ideal here. This prime ideal P prime, this is non-maximal. It is y minus x. This is a prime ideal. It's not a point here, but it's an irreducible component. Y minus x. This is this whole thing, whole line. Similarly, this. And both of them, they lie over this P. P is a 0 ideal here, 0 prime ideal. This is an irreducible component. In fact, it is, this space is irreducible. Therefore, it is given by this prime ideal, 0 prime ideal. This space here is not irreducible. It has 2 components. So this is because integral. What we have checked is surjectivity. In the next example, this is now hyperbola. This example, if you see the same, I will not go too much. So this point is lying over this. This is a point. 0, there is no point here. This maximum ideal, there is no point here. This space is irreducible. This space is irreducible because this is an integral domain. And both this as well as this component. You see now geometry has misled because you drew picture like real, right? So this is a real picture. Therefore, we are looking at it as 2 components, but it's really 1 component because you have to really draw a picture over C. All right. I will come back to these examples again sometime later. In the supplement, I will write it. You have a ring extension. It is integral. Closure is all those elements which are integral. When do you call a ring to be normal? If it is integral closed in the total quotient ring. I have to hurry because we lost some time. Can I continue for some time? Indranath?
Yes, please.
For 5 minutes, I'll continue.
Sure, no problem.
All right. Z is a normal domain. It's a domain and it's normal. That means Z is integrally closed in its quotient field Q. These are more general statement. Any UFD is normal domain. This follows from the fact that it is a UFD, unique factorization domain. Please check this statement. If you take a monoid algebra, that is algebra over K, this is a sub-algebra of the polynomial algebra in 1 variable generated by these monomials, where the exponents are non-zero natural numbers and their GCD is 1. Then one can easily check that the quotient field of this algebra, this is a domain because it's a subring of this domain. This is KT is also integral over this. That is also obvious because T is integral. You have to check. T satisfies the equation T minus x power m1 minus T power m1, for example. And this is not normal. In fact, the integral closure is the whole KT. The quotient field is rational function field in 1 variable, K round bracket. Now, going down is what? Going down is like you have gone up, we have to go down the chains of the prime ideals. So given P contained in Q, Q prime lying over this, then there exists a P prime which is contained in this and lie over this. This is not true statement. So you need some assumptions. Both are integral domains and the base ring is a normal domain. That is what you need. Then the assertion is true. And I have written down the proof of this. The proof is very simple, but I have recalled it here. So it's only this. But you have to understand. I would suggest you go each word by word and make sure that you understand each sentences. That is how one should go on checking the proof. So I will not go through this. And I would like to end with the following page, which you should keep looking at it every day, half an hour. Okay. So I have tried to summarize everything what I have asked you to check in supplement 1, supplement 0. And strategy here is to show you that by going to spectrum, we have made use of commutative algebra more, but also we have lost something, that coordinates are lost, equations are lost, and so on. Here the red things are difficult to prove. So let me just read it out for 2-3 minutes. So K is a field and A is a K algebra of finite type. That means as an algebra over this field, this is a finitely generated algebra. Finite type means finitely generated algebra. And pi is the surjective map, surjective K algebra homomorphism from the polynomial. This is also called a representation of A. And the kernel is an ideal in this polynomial ring. So kernel is the ideal A. So if I want to study spectrum of this particular ring A, that is what this is what I mean, spectrum of A. So this is homeomorphic to the closed set corresponding to the ideal A, where in the spectrum of the polynomial ring. And spectrum of the polynomial ring contain this maximal spectrum, contain this K spectrum, and then we have these identifications. So you see, if you start with a field and K algebra of finite type, then you are getting this contained there. And this is, you can realize this as a closed subset of this spectrum. And we have this with us to use pictures, to get a feeling, and so on. So it is not as abstract. So I want to use this language to show you that if I start with a K algebra over a field of finite type, then the dimension, I want to show you the true dimension of this algebra is also finite. And I would like to compute it. And obviously, one has to make use of the fact that it is a field and it is a finite type. So, and then also I want to compute its integral closure, that is normalization. And that will be the topic of my next lecture, Noether's normalization lemma. And the consequences will go on for a few lectures. So here, once again, I say these red statements are difficult to prove and they need proof, but you should either know them or read them. And don't try to read arbitrary books. I would suggest you read only ATM. And these are easier. These blue things are easier. So anyway, this diagram also shows if you start with the Zariski topology on this, then, and Zariski topology here, the classical one in K power n, that is the induced topology. Whether you take an induced topology or you define it directly classically, namely by declaring these are the closed sets. So it is same. Okay. So please go through this page. This page should be with you all the time. This is a dictionary. And you will see how we'll go from algebra to geometry, geometry to algebra, and so on. And then I will stop here. I can still take few questions.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, that 1 or 2 page before you draw some pictures. Sir,
which one?
Yeah. This? Any of the pictures. Yeah, this may be good. So, sir, are you capturing that if we don't have any pre-image, then the extension will not be integral extension?
Yes.
So, means... that
is because you see three
yeah,
have an integral extension, then the map has to be surjective.
So, can we fully capture the integral extension by this picture? Means fully characterization means this is...
See, first of all, you have to understand the pictures are not proofs, and pictures can also be misleading. For example, here I already mentioned this picture here, the way it is drawn.
Yeah.
One gets a feeling that this space we see x, y minus 1. which is I again forgot the word here, spectrum. Spectrum.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is not irreducible, because you may say this is one component, this is another component, which is
Yeah.
the case. Which is a case for real numbers, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
So, and this picture shows that this point doesn't have a pre-image,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, yes.
So the picture will not give you rigorous proof. It will only give you intuition.
Okay.
And some subtle errors will also happen because pictures are only intuition. As
Okay.
I was also asking you, what does one mean by picture? Nobody answered me.
Okay.
In general,
So then we can't conclude from picture.
huh?
Then we can't conclude from pictures.
You cannot prove things from pictures.
Picture. Yeah. Means.
You can only get a feeling and get a possible statement, but you have to prove it algebraically. The algebra
but,
will always make you precise proofs. Even if you see, for example, you would have you studied manifolds?
Yes, sir.
Manifolds or inverse function, implicit function.
Yeah.
What makes precise there is linear algebra.
Yeah.
If you don't use correct use of linear algebra, then you will struggle, you will wave your hands and then prove it, feeling that you have proved things, but those proofs will not be 100% correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir. That's all.
Hello.
Hello, I am Rabia.
Can you talk loudly? I can't hear. Rabia.
Rabia, so I just want to know, do you know any good expository on Hilbert-Nullstellensatz? Just means there are several proofs. Any document which has written all the proofs?
No, I didn't get you. I didn't get you. What do you want? The proofs of what?
Hilbert-Nullstellensatz. So we know that Moon's standard proof is there, Moon's proof is there, and some more proofs are there, and lots of other different materials are there. Do you know anyone, if anyone has written anything with all this?
See, if you see the supplement 0, there I have listed one reference, which is a recent expository paper I wrote with Kriti and J.K. Verma on many formulations of Hilbert-Nullstellensatz and their proofs, even topological or combinatorial and so on.
Okay.
That is, we have tried to write there with all the details, and in fact we have proved there all formulations of Hilbert-Nullstellensatz, they are equivalent, not just because normally they are stated as algebraic form and a weak form and strong form and so on.
Yeah.
But they are all equivalent if you formulate them correctly.
Okay.
So you can see that article.
It is it published or available?
It will appear soon, but we already have on archive.
Archive, okay.
We already have on archive. I forgot to. Kriti, can you please write down that archive number?
Okay, sir. I do that in the chat box right now.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, I can find out from archive. No problem. Thank you.
All right. Did it answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? So I will close down then.